There is no doubt that the Miami season through 4 weeks has been a disappointment, and it doesn't look hopeful for the rest of the season. But this team has yet to play an ACC game, and look at this conference and look at this division in particular. It is a free for all. So not all is lost at this point. Let's pull it together, play 8 conference games, and see what happens. Talking Miami football for the next hour with the wholesome one here at the Voice of College Football. You know the deal. Leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics for the wholesome one and myself. And you also know the deal to head on over to the wholesome one's channel, check out his content on a regular basis. And of course, you got to be subscribed there as well. Wholesome one, what's going on?
What's up, Mark? I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing okay. Sometimes you choose to find the positives in life, and you understand that you have to control the controllables, and it's kind of tough when you're part of media, even to a lower level like myself. Um, it's really tough when you're part of media and your favorite team isn't doing too well. But it also builds a sense of all right, well, we'll see what happens in you, as opposed to always just being super excited and emotional about things. So that's where I am with it when it comes to the games. That's where I am.
Well, I like to stay balanced. And on one end of the spectrum would be season's over. This team's horrible. They can't do anything. Look at what's happened. They came within a completion of losing to App State. And then you're really talking about an ugly looking season because the Central Connecticut State game was basically a scrimmage. You would be 0-3 versus FBS teams. And, they just all is lost. Or on the other hand of the spectrum, I know that a lot of people took exception to Manny Diaz's comments about, well, we've got a lot to play for. The ACC's out in front of us. That is the truth, that if this team can pull it together, that the ACC, number one, is certainly not daunting at this point. Teams are just beating each other back and forth in regards to Georgia Tech. 3 scores over North Carolina. Just when you see the results every week of the games that have already been played in the ACC, it's got to give anybody hope that this conference and this division can be won. So if they can pull it together, correct the mistakes, and maybe some of these young guys will inject some life into these units, and we'll lead off with that because that was a topic of the offseason between the two of us many times about let's play the players that have earned the spots, that have earned it and could make an impact. And maybe that's starting to take place.
Yes. I'll go with the first half of what you said. It's kind of mind blowing to see some of these things happen. A team like GT and a team like North Carolina already have 2 losses, and Virginia took them to the brink until they eventually just pulled away. But that was a big time Thursday night shootout at one point, back and forth between UVA and UNC. Probably about a week ago, right? I think that was last week. And then this week they end up losing to GT, and especially a team that historically, and they're far away from this at this point, but no, they were beating teams in the Coastal and won a couple ACC championships with that triple option, but in a great recruiting hotbed like Atlanta, Georgia, okay, which is eerily similar to South Florida. And a lot of people from South Florida have cousins and family in that area back and forth. You got people up there who went to Miami or from Miami who moved away because of cost of living, because it's just ridiculous to live in at the crib. It's just ridiculous to live in Miami as opposed to live, outside of Atlanta or even in Atlanta to some extent. So I could see them, if they're going on a nice direction, being a pretty big thorn in our side as far as us wanting to run and own the Coastal, especially with the type of culture that Collins is building up. Coach Collins is building up there. It's really nice, man. Yeah, I think he like how we rep the 305. He has the 404 on everything. It's not just a yellow jacket or a GT. They put their area code on everything because they want a brand. I believe he's from Atlanta. Also, he wants to just put 404 out there, 404, 404. And they handle business. You look at North Carolina, and they have one of the best QBs in college football. And then you could argue Armstrong. I saw your tweet when Armstrong was carving into UNC, especially with the talent that he has around him and a really bad defense. Imagine if you give him a big time defense, what could happen with a guy like Brandon Armstrong, and he's doing well there also. And then you get down to Miami, and it's just not the same. The level of execution, um, the sense of high ability to make plays, the sense of explosiveness, things of that nature. When you turn on the film and you watch a lot of these other teams, you're not seeing that with the University of Miami. And honestly, it's really far from the truth of what we expect Miami. You expect speed, you expect a big arm QB, you expect a pretty solid offense and a tenacious defense. Where you have none of those things up until this point when it comes to the University of Miami. And hey, some people always listed as, oh man, wholesome's here. Here comes the negativity, and that's cool. You're well within your opinion, well within your fact to have your opinion, but that's not really what I'm built on. I just want to be able to drop the facts on you, and it hurts because of where we are and who we are right now. But man, the Coastal, yes, it is there to be taken. And yes, the Coastal is right there in front of us. But we have to go back to an old adage and take it week by week because honestly, nothing, Mark, absolutely nothing we have done shows that we can go on a 7-0 win streak through the ACC Coastal and expect wins. Now, I have to take my own advice. We got to go week by week, which means what? We got a game on Thursday against Virginia, which in my opinion is very winnable and very losable. And that's what happens when you have such an up and down program and not a level of consistency and not a level of growth and getting better and better and better and better. We're not seeing that. The last time you saw that, Mark, was 2016, 2017, when Mark Richt was here, and you saw a team that played West Virginia and beat them in a bowl game, a pretty solid team on their level, and beat them. It was a really solid game. And then they go on 2017, go on this 10 winning game streak. And then they also go into the Orange Bowl against a very solid Wisconsin team. And although they do lose, you felt like Miami was growing. And then the bottom fell out of it. So there's a lot going on when it comes to this program, Mark, in all honesty, that we're going to see. We're going to see. And us as Miami Hurricanes fans, we have to do one thing, take it one day at a time. Because I tell you what, this team, there's no consistency to it. And you watch this team do as much as they did against CCSU. You saw a high level of execution. Unfortunately, and a lot of rumors are out there about this basically being the end of De'Aaron King's, career, and also that the fact that he's going to bounce back and he just a couple weeks with a shoulder injury. It's all over the place. They still listed him as the starter on the depth chart, which we all understand when it comes to the sport. It makes no sense to just go in on the depth chart. It's about snap count, but it's a tall tale sign of something isn't right. We're starting a guy who is out. We got him listed as a starter. A lot of these older players are just not it when it comes to, defensive end wise and linebacker wise, but we continue to start them. We look at how different De'Aaron King could have been if maybe we went with the younger guys last year because certain players who are no longer playing receiver right now who were starting all last year still are those same guys. Mark, we had a post over the middle of the field that was caught by Jacoby George, a former 3-star who moved up to a 4-star. I mean, it was a beautiful pass right on the money, caught and stride in the end zone from Jake Garcia to Jacoby George. Well, Mark, early on in that game, that exact same throw was thrown from Tyler Van Dyke to D. Wiggins, and it was a wide open drop. So it's just continuing to go in this spiral, and we have to eventually understand that some of these players are who they are. They just are who they are, and it's time to move on. I understand loyalty. I understand they committed to you. I understand they were around you when you couldn't get people to commit. But these last two classes, you brought in a very nice haul of really good talent from South Florida and nationally to come be a part of the University of Miami's football program. We have to continue to put the pressure on this staff to play the better players. I don't care if they've been here for 7 years. I don't care if they've been here for 7 months. We need to play the better players. And on a consistent basis, Mark, we see the younger guys or transfers are better than the people who have been in the Manny Diaz system for a long time. How is that continually happening and players are regressing under this current regime?
So, Wholesome One, before you get to your analysis of some of the young personnel that's emerging right now, I will just say this about the overview of the season thus far and what lies ahead. I was mistaken, like most Miami fans, in looking at this team against this schedule and basically doing something that can only be done with a few teams in the country to say it's a 3-game season or it's a 4-game season, and everybody else is check it off, win, 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 win on down the line. I should have known better because I got caught up with everyone else that, unlike a lot of Miami fans, I thought that there was a snowball's chance against Alabama, so I didn't take it to that degree. So I thought that was a loss. I thought the North Carolina game was basically toss-up, 50-50, maybe slightly less because it was going to be played on the road, and that everybody else should be a win.
Mm.
And I picked Miami to go 9-3 because I thought they'll trip up against somebody else. And maybe I should have even picked 10-2 because I thought the North Carolina game was a toss-up. So 10-2, 9-3. My official pick was 9-3, thinking they're going to trip up against somebody. But we are looking at a team right now that everyone else on their schedule, they could win each one of those games. So there's no more Alabamas on the schedule, but they can lose all of those games or each one of those games. Everybody on that schedule can beat them. We can no longer look at Miami and say, this team's going to go 10-2, and the only teams that can beat them are Alabama and North Carolina, and that's what the season's going to look like, and we're just basically buying time to get to North Carolina and play for the Coastal Division. No, look at what Georgia Tech's doing. Look at what Virginia Tech's doing. Look at what Virginia's doing. Look at what North Carolina State just pulled off against Clemson. Every game is going to be up in the air. Every game. Duke is actually kind of pulling it together as well and playing better football. They've won 3 consecutive games, not against great competition, but they beat Northwestern. They beat Kansas this past week, beat them by 3 scores. So I wouldn't even look past that game.
Mark, if there ever was a year, this was it. And you know what's crazy, Mark, is you watch a lot of shows and you read a lot of media and you get around multiple people. And what happens is when we all start saying the same thing, look out. And regardless of whether it's Paul from Paul Scooper to you, regardless of it's Cam Underwood from the leader of State of the U, regardless of all these other people who have the same slot I have on the square next to you, we're continuously saying some of the same stuff. And it's from different angles. And it may not be the exact same verbiage, but you get the main, like you get the gist of what we're trying to say. And man, I tell you what, one of the craziest things, in all honesty, is to know that if this team was ran by someone with a little bit more experience, if this team was ran by someone who knew how to control and focus a program and how to build a program, how to create leadership, how to create togetherness and the culture, all those kind of things, this team would probably be a very, very solid team. A very, very solid team. I'm not saying they would be top 5 in the country, But I would feel, in my opinion, it's a guaranteed top 15 with all this experience and talent that's been on this team and on our sidelines. But what we got was what a lot of people have been saying for the longest we were going to get. And that was a coach who's just trying his hardest, and he just doesn't have the resources. He doesn't have the knowledge just yet. Okay, he's just not there. And we can't keep holding him to this elite standard. And he's not that guy. He's just not. He's a pup who's learning. And they gifted him this job as opposed to giving this job to a seasoned vet who could handle the pressure of this job. And although he speaks fast, although he makes it seem like he has all the answers with everything. I mean, Mark, if you listen to him, he'll sell you the car you already been driving for 22 years. That's just the type of person that Manny Diaz is and how well he is with words and verbiage and using big words and terminologies and analogies and twisting things up. And you're just sitting there like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm with you. I get you. And then you walk away and you're like, how did he get me? How did he how did he get me to fall for that again? That's the kind of person and the type of approach he has with a lot of stuff. And it behooves people to please stop taking him at his word. Just watch what we see on the field every single day. Watch what we put on film. Okay. Your eyes are not lying to you. The eye in the sky does not lie. Men and women and even numbers, Mark. People say numbers don't lie. Yes, they do. You can find a way to make anything skew and turn in a direction that you want and find some hidden yardage statistic and make things sound way better than they actually are. Okay. And that's why we all call him a politician in the fan base. Shout out to Alan down in the comment section. We do call him politician. We have to get this in order, Mark. And Luke Walker is saying that Miami act like he took over the 2000 Canes. I agree. We do feel that way, and it is somewhat of an unfortunate thing, but I also think it is fortunate. One thing about having expectations is I believe that that's a good thing. Okay, I believe you lean into the fact that people expect you to be great. Don't run away from it. Don't hide from it. Don't try to water it down and try to tell people, temper your expectations. We're not those guys. I don't believe that that's the best route to take. And like I said, that's just my opinion. I think leaning into it, I think making sure young men understand who and what they put pen to paper to sign up for. You signed up for a crazy fan base that expects the national championship every year. And if you're from Miami, then you know that. You signed up for an administration who's just now learning how to start investing into a program. You signed up for one of the last schools in all of college football to get an indoor practice facility. You signed up for a head coach that's learning on the job. Okay. But you also signed up to be a part of one of the greatest brotherhoods in college football history. And those that went to a small private school in Coral Gables and understood that they can be great at football if all of these guys from Miami Northwestern, Miami Central, Miami Edison, Booker T, all came together and instead of going to to Nebraska or Oklahoma or going up to Notre Dame, they could all stay home and kick butt together. And that's why it's held in such high accord. And it's not just about the U30 for 30 part one or the U30 for 30 part two. It was about that they did it together. No matter what the outside people said about them dancing and prancing and running out of smoke, and people didn't like that. It wasn't about that. It was about the brotherhood and the camaraderie of those that wore the U on the side of their helmet. And to me, in all honesty, you have to lean into that history. I'm not saying we got to start dancing again. I'm not saying we have to take the gloves off and just go with the orange wristbands Miami was infamous for, the big old orange wristbands and no glove on your finger and just catching bombs. I'm not saying we have to be that. I'm not even saying we got to get rid of the turnover chain and go back to being militaristic and everyone in line and black cleats and black socks and everyone shut up because coach is talking. No, you don't have to do that either. But you have to find the middle ground between all of that, learn your team, and hire people that's going to help these young men grow and help build the program. And if we're able to compete for national championships down the line, beautiful. If not, give us a serviceable team who's going out there and really giving a great product, who understand the X's and O's of football, who understands how to play this and how to play it as a unit and as a team, and all 11 on one side going at it. And how the defense is supposed to have great communication because we work together. Because one thing about defense and the zone, especially if somebody is out of position, 10 other guys could do their job. One messes up and that's a touchdown. The same thing on the opposite side. All 10 other guys could be doing their job, but if the left guard wasn't paying attention to the protection and he steps down and the linebacker blasts in and knocks our QB out of the game and now he's out for the season with a shoulder injury, you know, we all have to start playing as a unit. And that's what I'm waiting to see if we can hire someone that's going to be able to build a true program here at the University of Miami.
Before we get the Wholesome One's take on a few emerging freshmen that he's excited about, let's pick up the super chat from Carroll City Kane 305. I'm back. Can we admit De'Ara King is not anything special over N'Kosi Perry, especially? How good is De'Ara King?
Hey, I appreciate the donation. I really do. I don't necessarily. I really like N'Kosi Perry. You all know that. I think N'Kosi Perry did a very, very good job. You know, and so he's doing well at FAU, cutting up at FAU. And I think a couple of our players probably should have gone with him. You know, Pope and Wiggins should have gone up there and did very well.
N'Kosi Perry always seemed to do better when he had nothing to lose.
I agree. I agree.
When he could just go in there and
like
sling
when his
it.
back is against the wall, it felt like he just came out swinging. You know,
wasn't it the Virginia Tech game where Jaron Williams threw 3 picks? They're down 28-zip. They bring in N'Kosi Perry, and he just starts slinging the ball all over the field.
Yeah, I think he's one of the better QBs to come through the University of Miami. I think he also probably has one of the best arms, and that's including Heisman Trophy guys to come through. That thing was a howitzer. I mean, he'll let it go and it'll take off on you. So I honestly think N'Kosi Perry is one of the best talents that University of Miami failed again. You know, and hey, every program has that. And when you follow a team and you really fall in love with that program, sometimes, in all honesty, you can think that it only happens to your program. And you know, one thing about Miami Hurricanes Twitter is very infamous. People talk a lot about Hurricanes Twitter and how crazy and nuclear it is. And then if you take time to go into Ohio State Twitter right now, because they're not doing too well, you'll see. Nebraska Cornhusker Twitter, they're not doing too well. You will see also that everyone falls in love with their program and with their team. And when you have tunnel vision, that's all you can see. And you either amplify the really good or you amplify the really bad because it's all you eat, sleep, and breathe. And that's the University of Miami football program. So we just want someone, Mark, I tell you what, it comes down to this. We want somebody to give a damn about this program and about our community as much as we give a damn about our community in this football program. And I mean it. Not just get on and say it and not just, oh, I'm going to have a program that you're going to be proud of. I'm going to have a program that you're going to love. We're going to have great merchandise and we're going to have chains and rings and everything. It's going to be so nice and cool. We're going to have a couple night games where we're going to bring down the price so that all y'all can come in and see it. We have a couple Thursday nighters so it's not too hot. All that stuff is glitz and glamour, Mark. And it's similar to what politicians do. They give you something else that's not what you asked for, but it'll shut you up for a little bit. Okay, they give you something else that looks fancy and cool. That's definitely not what we asked for, but we'll take it. Okay, and that's what the approach that we're seeing right now.
So when it comes to these freshmen, James Williams, first and foremost, I know you wanted to spotlight their emergence.
Oh yes, yes. Well, James Williams is going to get his second start, excuse me, at strong safety. He started last year. That last year. Good Lord, he started last week, um, and he's going to get another start this week. And I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to do very, very well. He's standing out to a lot of us. I mean, I, for one, have thought about the fact that moving him into striker or outside linebacker would be the better decision for him moving forward. And we saw him get an interception this past week against CCSU, but still in deep thirds, he was able to track the ball and get the ball. Of course, we wanted to attack it at his highest point and catch it in stride, but instead he caught it like a wide receiver way down here. And that's all good in my opinion. He's doing well. He's lost a little bit in some coverages, but that's just being a freshman at the collegiate level. And what I'm hoping is he doesn't get caught too flat-footed this upcoming Thursday, because UVA is a very dynamic and aggressive offense that's going to go down the football field. It's very up-tempo, and it's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's going. It is going, and it's really high octane. It's a little RPO, a little spread, and things of that nature. I mean, we'll see. We'll see when it comes to what this UVA offense is going to do to our defense. I'm not too proud of it at all. We also lack a pass rush, so if this QB just sits back and pats the ball, we're going to be in some trouble, Mark, especially in this game. Also, you got Romelo Brinson, who made the ESPN top 10 plays of the weekend, and it was number one. And he caught a kind of a fade route, but he caught it in hand, and he like tucked it like a loaf of bread. But he was also trying to like brace himself for a fall. So while he was doing that, he ends up falling back on the grass, but in the end zone. But his feet landed out, and it went so fast that the referee called it incomplete. And then to me, it was pretty obvious he was in, but okay. They go to review and they end up giving them the TD. So that was, thank God for review, because Mark, you remember there was a time that review was not legal. They would show the replay and it would be obvious that it was one way or another, but it was based on whatever the ref called. Okay. And I think we're getting to that point where in our program, these youngsters are starting to make plays that they should be out there. And they should be out there a little more than the people who have had time to make plays that are not making plays. It's just that simple. Other freshmen, of course, I brought up Jacoby George, who's doing very well. We got to see Elijah Arroyo and Brantley, the tight end from Miami Northwestern. They did pretty well out there. I saw them get some nice catches and throw some nice blocks. So we're just excited about the growth. Still excited about the growth, Mark. And all I'm hoping is these young men continue to get better. And I'm hoping that we can give them a staff to make them better. Because I don't know if the current staff can tap in, especially offensively, can tap into what the greatness of these young men could be.
We talk Miami football here each and every week with Wholesome One on Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So please join us, but don't just do that. Grab some folks and bring them on in. Miami fans, college football fans. So, of course, this is a Miami show, but as you can see in the live chat, we've got college football fans representing across the board. So any college football fans you know of that are free at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, bring them in to talk some college football with us. And if they can't make it then, just let them know about the hashtag Rewatch Squad as well. We've got Devin Ray. Good to see you, Devin, on the line. asking about Virginia's huge behind tight end. That dude is ridiculous. How do we defend him?
Mark, I'm going to tell you this. We've had some really lackluster coverage at linebacker for a while. What I would do is have my striker and my safety blanket him and have linebackers worry about the run or worry about the middle of the field, in all honesty. That's just me. That young man is very big, like 6'7". I think he's 6'7", 280-ish. Clocked is as low as like a 4.65. So he could be a big problem for Miami because, like I said, linebacker and coverage over the middle has been really, really, really bad for for a little bit now. Okay. So he's going to be a problem if we allow it to be. What I'm hoping is we have some players that can come in and help stop it. But I don't know if he's a game changer as far as like he's just going to carve us up for 200 yards. But I do know he's a big red zone threat. So I can see him being responsible for a touchdown or two once they get down there. Because I don't know if we have anybody that can be able to truly affect him when it comes to catching the football. And what I mean by that is he has such a big mass in the frame that when he goes up for the ball, he can wall someone off because he's so wide and long. He can wall him off to be able to catch the ball, and you just try to reach around him to break his hands out. What you would hope is we would have an enforcer who, when he does go up to catch it and the other person is trying to reach around him, will come and put a shoulder right in his chest and he'll, the ball will pop out. But that kind of stuff has been kind of coached out of Miami recently because of all of the continuous flags and targeting that's been associated with our play lately at the University of Miami. So I don't know if our players, it also goes into the Manny Diaz donut roll that I'm seeing our players do is, he really wants to take targeting completely out of what happens against Miami. So that's why I believe our players are going so low and ankle biting and knee rolling and crap like that, because hitting people in the mouth results in 15 yarders for the University of Miami a little bit more often than it does anyone else, in my unhumble opinion. So I don't know what we're going to do to completely stop that tight end, but that's what I would suggest we do to kind of hold him off a little bit. Hit him in the mouth.
We're talking about Jelani Woods. He's caught 16 balls this year, 3 touchdowns, 15 yards per catch. Last game against Wake, 4 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. They also have a wide receiver in Dontavian Wicks who caught 8 balls against Wake for 114 yards. So he's one to watch as well. But yeah, Woods, 6'7", 265 at tight end.
Yeah, that sounds like a real tough red zone issue for us, Mark.
And I saw some of that Wake game. I saw some of the North Carolina game as well.
He stood out. Like in the North Carolina game, I was like, who is that dude? They threw I think he sat down in the middle of a zone and caught a touchdown in the North Carolina game. And they like zoomed in on him and they're like, that's a big dude. And I said the same thing to myself, like, whoa, that dude's huge, man. It's a big dude, man. It's a big dude.
And he hangs on to those footballs, unlike the tight end that you've got playing for the U right now. I've been disappointed in Will Mallory. I thought he made some major strides last year and started to attack the football and treat it like his own and tear it away from people and actually play with some aggression and with some determination and focus.
Mark, you get to that point with guys. You just get to that point, man. Yes, am I disappointed? Sure. But I'm disappointed about a lot of guys on this roster, especially when you look at that class of 2018, in which we thought these guys were going to help give us that big bump, and they're just not playing well right now. And I can only imagine what it means and how it feels for them mentally. Gervin Hall and Will Mallory and Bubba Bolden, and he's not a part of that class, but not playing well, up to snuff. Navon Donaldson not doing well either. It's like, could you imagine what it does mentally for you? Because none of these guys were bad coming out of high school. None of these guys, some of them were thought of as the top tier of their recruiting class in that year. A couple of them were thought of as top 5, top 10 at their position in the entire country for their class. And they come to Miami and they're just not playing like it, man. Not playing at it at all. And I'm hoping that they're able to kind of salvage things and turn things around halfway through this season. I just don't know if we have the leadership, and I also don't know if they have the mental stability to be able to pull themselves back up and start making plays. I'm just hoping and honestly praying for their mental health, man, because depression is real, Mark. Depression is real. And when you start having a little bit of a downward spiral, hopefully we have the people around that can help them just stay together mentally, honestly.
Gotta love Richard Hill's optimism. He says Canes beat the Wahoos by 30 on Thursday night. Just feel good about a 1-point win. Get a 1-point win, and I think this game I'd give Miami a slight advantage, very slight in this one. So we've got Eddie here. Mark and Wholesome One question: if Miami is so quote unquote irrelevant, like the haters say, why was Miami talked about so much by ESPN last week? If we were so irrelevant, why talk about us? They want Miami back.
I'm going to say this much here. Thank you. Herb Street, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but thank you. What he said was he spoke to how a lot of us have felt for a while about this program and about our administration and about the University of Miami, and how they have deliberately ignored what has made them great and what put that brand of the U on a national stage. And you can take that in so many different directions as far as classism or race or however you want to go with that. But at face value, this football program, not your medical alum, not your law alum or your business alum, this football program is what made that institution world renowned. And they've ignored it for 10 plus years. You could argue 15 plus. Okay. And it's disgusting. And how they treated it and how they just ignore it and how this is bringing in all the money, but they filter it to other stuff. And they just deliberately keep going cheap and don't really care. And we're going to take the money anyway. We're the U. Young men are still going to come here and put pen to paper and sign here because we're the U. Like, hey, it's whatever. It's really like pompous private school kind of vibe to it. Like, whatever, dude. Like, kind of frat boyish to it. And it hurt. It hurts because, Mark, so many young men's careers we wasted. So many young men who had NFL talent and an opportunity to go on and do very well, but we didn't coach and develop them here. So they go on for a couple years and then end up on 4 or 5 teams and then they're out the league in 6 years. And sometimes go undrafted. So they got to start out with $300,000 contracts when they could have had way more. Okay. That's what this program has given its players back. And to have someone like Herb Street get on stage and call this school out for what they have done and how they've treated our players and how they've treated this program was much needed. Because that sentiment has been echoed for years on this channel with me, with Kim Underwood, with whoever else has had this spot. Okay, that sentiment has been echoed on our individual channels and individual media um, places. But Barry Jackson's article was the one that got the notoriety. It had it boom in front of everyone. He even broke down the numbers of how much it would cost to actually buy everyone out and go out and buy an elite staff. Would cost them $50 million. We have the money. And I continuously say, don't allow this program to lie to you and tell you that they don't have money and that they're cheap and things of that nature. We can't allow them to keep using that as an excuse because it's not a good one, because it's a lie. You have plenty of money. You have plenty of opportunity. You have plenty of local. You could even, if you want to go cheap, why not go and hire some of the best South Florida high school coaches to come in and help? If you want to be so cheap, you got St. Thomas Aquinas at Fort Lauderdale that had one of the greatest high school head coaches. You have American Heritage right now currently doing very, very well. Tapping the IMG, whatever. That's just a little bit up north if you want to be so cheap. But you have the ability to actually do big things. You know, Mark, let me ask you this. If we're so cheap, how come the indoor practice facility is a $50 million project that they got done in 2 years? We're so cheap. How are these new dorms, which was putrid and horrible, the dorms at the University of Miami? Now they did it in about a year and a half, cost them $150 million if we're so cheap. All it takes is about $22 million, which is half or a quarter of what you spent on those other things to actually build a very, very nice, solid staff. Now, you want to start going to 30 and 35 and 40 million. Now you're creeping into an elite staff. But you get back what you put into anything in life, especially with investments. If you spend money, you spend more money, you're going to make it. And a simple Google search will show you that football brings higher enrollment, football brings the most money, and makes your endowment go up if you invest in it. It's just that simple. So I'm happy that Colin Cowherd at Fox went in on Miami and USC. And is saying, how are these two programs, which have no excuse, how are they so pathetic for the last couple of years? But you have Iowa State doing very, very well and making New Year's Six bowls. Okay? Make like Iowa State, Wisconsin, make that make sense. You know? But these two programs have completely all in borderline, we fell off to just almost irrelevancy. Okay. He called it out. But what did USC do? They were tired of being embarrassed. They were tired of having lackluster performances week in and week out, year in and year out for 6 years. And Mark, what did they do? They finally cut ties with that dude. Cut ties. God bless him. He's really known as a really nice guy, Clay Helton is. But this is about football. And this is about results. And this is about building a great program. You can't do it. And that's what I'm seeing when it comes to Miami. We have to pull the plug, cut it, and invest in this program and watch it give you back millions, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions if you give it a couple of years, maybe like 4 or 5 years. You will make all that money back plus more if you build an elite program here at Miami.
USC made that move, and even though their football program has been disappointing under Clay Helton and disappointing since Pete Carroll left, Clay Helton achieved much more than what's been achieved at Miami. He did win a Rose Bowl, finished number 3 in the country that year. He did win the Pac-12 championship the next year. So he had some highs, just not consistently winning. All right. Shane, appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat. 9-3. 9-3 would actually look good right now. But anyway, 9-3 don't mean we back. How is it we forget smoke and mirrors of 2017? Major problems still exist. We need fundamental changes. That's what the Olsen one's addressed here. Hashtag Herb Street, hashtag pull the plug, hashtag Mario.
Just that simple. I agree with all three of those things. So Cat Five says, "What do you mean by invest money in the program?" Thank you. That's actually a good question. I will explain what I mean by that. So at face value, a lot of football teams are kind of held to a pretty high standard as far as your logo and your history, right? There's probably about 20 teams you could say historically are pretty similar, right? Then there's like five that are just on a different level. What sets them apart is the amount of money that they're willing to pay people to because the job is already attractive. You know, safeties coach at Alabama, corner DB coach at LSU, okay, head coach at Ohio State. Those jobs are very attractive, and a lot of people would love to have them. So what I mean by invest is when you're able to open up the pocketbook and sign a coach who can help your program grow and who can get way better and things of that nature, and you sign them to maybe 4.5, 4.7 million dollars, somewhere in that area, to get them to come to your school to come in. That's the head coach. Now, when you sign a contract, you're gonna have like years. It's gonna be for a total of 20 million, I guess, whatever, over 4 or 5 years. But then you also have that coach that sits down and he's gonna say, "All right, in all honesty, I'm going to need to bring in this guy to come be my offensive line coach. But he's gonna cost something. Okay, he's gonna cost something. All right, you got to open up the pocketbook again for maybe another 1.2. Okay. I also want to have this department, and I also want to have an elite recruiting staff, not just people who are on my position coaches who do recruiting, but I need a recruiting staff, meaning regional recruiters who spend time on laptops and Google and things of that nature, 247 and communicating. I'm going to need that. Okay. That's another amount of money that they want to bring in. Now you got to break down the head coach, his staff, meaning his immediate assistant coaches, his offensive coordinator, his defense coordinator, O-line, D-line, et cetera, things of that nature. Then you have to go into the strength and conditioning program and nutrition program. Okay. Now you're gonna take this coach on a visit. He's gonna know the campus, things of that nature. He's gonna go to the weight room. That's one of the first places a lot of coaches go. Where are your meeting rooms? Where is your strength and conditioning? All that kind of stuff. Do you have a shake shop or a smoothie shop? Things of that nature. That's where the nutrition comes in. And it's usually not too far away from the weight room. And it's in jogging distance in between the meeting rooms and also the weight room so that the young men can jog by it and get it on the way to meeting rooms, on the way to practice, on the way to from practice as a recovery, things of that nature. All right. You're going to have money to fund that nutrition place. Okay, what type of protein are we talking about, Coach? Here, what kind of NCAA certified stuff can we bring in here? How many people do you want to pay to come in? The quality of protein, the quality of people that you want to have in here, things of that nature. So that's a whole separate funding. That's nutrition. Strength and conditioning staff. You got a head strength and conditioning coach, which a lot of people know that person, but they usually have 2 to 4 to 5 assistants, which could be a mixture of grad assistants or exercise science students or exercise science grad students, things of that nature. Or you can go all in and get nothing but professionals, not people that you're paying for their degree, but you're paying them to actually be there because they're paid personal trainers and they work for you. Okay. That's about 18 jobs I just spilled off that these elite head coaches know what they want. They know people, they know their price range. And let's not forget, a lot of them already have other jobs. So you got to buy them out from the job that they're at before and sign them to a contract to come here. So that's what I mean by invest, is you're going to have to sit down and truly come up with a complete plan as to how much money we're going to divvy up Okay, are we going to pull a little bit away from nutrition? Are we going to go down a little bit on nutrition so that we can add another 200,000-300,000 to what we can do in the meeting rooms and edit that kind of stuff. Make sure everyone has Apple iPads. Make sure everybody's in tune. Are we going to do huddle? Or are we going to use another form of film review and things of that nature? All 22 look, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of goes really deep into what that term of investment means. And it could be upwards of a total increase and a facelift of anywhere from about 60 million, maybe 70, 75. If you want to go to an elite tilt of how you're going to completely change and revamp things. What's happening at Miami right now is they want to do those things to a certain extent, but Mark, they want to stretch it out. So they want to stretch this stuff out over 5 years and be able to honestly waste about 2 or 3 recruiting classes worth of players and 2 or 3 senior classes until we can get it right 3 years from now. Okay. And if you listen to Coach Diaz's pressers, that's the kind of stuff you hear him talking about. It's the future in 3 years and 5 years from now. College football is about getting stuff done right now. Because teams the two names here, Mel Tucker and Sam Pittman, these people take over their programs, especially Coach Pittman at Arkansas, like that. Because that's what happens when you go get a guy that's a great culture fit and he understands and has a true plan. And he's in line, like Herb Street said, with his superiors, meaning he's in line with the AD and he's in line with the president. They're in line with boosters who are willing to make sure that this stuff looks right. And that's what we're waiting on.
And with Sam Pittman, understand that's in a league where 11 or 12 of the teams out of 14 will have a recruiting class every year in the top 25 in the country. 11 or 12 of the top 25 classes in the nation will be in the SEC. And Arkansas may or may not be one of them. Under Chad Morris, from my recollection, that is not one of them. They suffered in recruiting. And when Arkansas suffers, it's not like it's 75th in the country, but it's still 35th in the country. And that's not good enough in the SEC. So he did not take over some talent-laden roster, according to the recruiting rankings. He took over Chad Morris's roster, which did not win a game in the SEC for 2 consecutive years, went 0-16 in the SEC. And Sam Pittman shows up and look past the 3-7 record last year. They competed their butts off. They were in every game. They went from getting beaten by Western Kentucky and North Texas and Colorado State to competing with Auburn and Ole Miss and those teams, beating Ole Miss. You know how good Ole Miss is right now. And now this year, they've taken another huge leap. And I'm not saying that they're ready for Alabama and Georgia, but they're a top 15 team in the country. Mm-hmm. How he's done that with the same personnel, it's pretty remarkable. Mel Tucker at Michigan State, I don't know if they're ready for the elite in the Big Ten either, but they're leaps and bounds better than they were as he's building that thing as well.
And Mark, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's definitely not. And people don't understand this. But man, you definitely need people who can get it done right. And it's not the easiest thing to get done, but you got to have the great conversations. You got to be able to sit down. One of the biggest things about life, period, Mark, is networking. The old adage is it's not about what you know, it's who you know. But even added to that, it's not about what you know or who you know, but who knows you. Because you can know that person, but do they know you? Are they willing to help you out? Are they willing to invest in you and your future and what you want to create here as a football program and as a true organization? So I think things are hopefully gonna move in a better direction for Miami, but looking around all of college football and seeing all these programs, start to shoot past you? When is it going to be? I thought losing to FIU was enough. I thought losing to La Tech was enough. But no, almost starting 0-3 still isn't enough for them. In my unhumble opinion, Mark, if we would have lost to App State, Coach Diaz would still be our head coach right now. So for them and Coach Diaz to be the talking head, to come out on this Monday presser and try to fight back and bite back against Herbstreit and what he said is complete baloney. Because at the end of the day, your actions speak louder than your words. And their actions for hiring your ass, number one. Number two, their actions for not making any public changes shows they don't care. It shows they're fine with being average. It shows that they're willing to accept mediocrity because they're still getting the millions and millions from the ACC Digital Network and the ACC as a conference. That's what that stuff shows. So, I mean, at the end of the day, when are we going to see any changes? Hopefully soon. There's an option in never. We'll see.
If you're in the administration of a major school, whether that be public or private, and you've got a major sports program and football in particular, and you compete in a major conference, and as long as you don't get embarrassed, even if you do get embarrassed, if you're Vanderbilt or what Rutgers was a few years ago, or Kansas in football, you're still going to get paid. You still get the same amount of TV revenue as Ohio State does, as Oklahoma does. You get your split. But let's say you want a little bit better than that. You don't want to be constantly ridiculed by your alumni and students and fans. So you're okay if you go 7-5, 8-4. You go 7-5, 8-4. People leave us alone. Or we go to bowl games. We still get our cut from the conference and the TV revenue, which is the biggest slice of all this. We're still, as the wholesome one just said, making money. So if you don't care about football, if you don't care about excellence, and you're using football to be a means to other endeavors on campus and other priorities, then as long as you field a decent football team that goes to bowl games and makes those revenue streams come in, that's good enough.
And see, to me, Mark, I'll tell you this. If that's what they told us, then we would all love the program from afar, probably find someone else to watch.
Yeah.
But when you come on and you continuously say, we're here for national championships and we want to be great and we want to be elite. We want to be thought of as one of the greatest programs in college football because we are one of the greatest histories, football programs in college football history. We want to live up to that. If that's what you tell us, that's what we're going to expect. If that's what you tell us, we're going to expect that in everything that you do. From the hires to the fires to the signings to the transfers, we're going to expect that kind of thing. But if you come out and say flat out, hey, we're here, we want to be serviceable, and we want to be an 8 to 9 win team, we want to be a pretty solid program that goes to a bowl game and hopefully wins the Coastal. Just be blunt and honest and upfront with us, and I promise you, you will have a different result from this program and a different result from this fan base. But when you come on and you try to lie to us and you feed us crap about national championships and greatness and the history of the U, and but then you have players who aren't allowed to come back to the program. You have coaches who aren't answering former alumni's players, like their calls, nothing, not responding to their messages, and their son comes out to be a 5-star, one of the best DBs in the country, and you're not even answering the phone to talk to him until he goes on the show and says, yeah, my own school won't recruit my son. And now you want to start recruiting his son? When you have plenty of players who literally, when we played in 2018, we played LSU, and some players weren't allowed on the sideline. So Ed Orgeron, because of course he coached at Miami at one point, turns around and says, "Oh no, y'all can come hang out with us." But we have legends on from Miami on the LSU sideline. We turn on the game against Alabama, and the Alabama former players are intermingling with the players on the sideline. But in Miami wants to talk about COVID protocols, and we only have players in a player's box. They're not even allowed anywhere near our players or our coaches. But we got players literally standing next to Nick Saban and standing next to wide receivers and clapping them up at the touchdowns and talking things over about what they saw and giving away coverages and stuff on the sideline. You know, that's what bothers us, Mark. Is when you really sit and lie to our faces, but then get mad at us for being mad that you lied to our faces. You get mad at, and I tell people, I said this a while back. Don't tell me that it's rain when I see you spitting in my face. And I don't care that everyone else around me is saying, "Come on, Holloway, you tripping, man. That's rain." No, I literally see him spitting in my face. This is spit. No, that's rain, dude. You tripping. Calm down. And that's what happens when we have people who continue to defend this crap and say we're just supposed to support the players and support the program and do a fan's job. Just sit there and be a fan. No, because a lot of these players, if they were had on other uniforms, would be on a different level. It could probably change their family's future with what they could do on that football field. It's that simple.
One more from Shane here. Appreciate the super chat. Shane, thank you so much. Wholesome one, do you think Herb Street's comments will actually cause Miami to make changes along with all the other outside voices? Hashtag I love George the Gator fan.
I don't know about that one, Mark. I still don't necessarily think so. At the end of the day, in order to really get those kind of people to make changes, they got to be pissed off enough. And like I said to you, I don't know if I thought that losing to FIU and all those teams and looking like we don't belong and borderline pathetic. I thought that would be enough to piss them off and make changes and get people out of here who don't deserve to be here and who are ruining our players and ruining our brand. I thought that was enough, but obviously it's not. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens with Miami moving forward. But I know it's almost time for me to get out of here. So I will say this: I do have a score prediction, and for this upcoming Thursday, and I don't have the University of Miami coming out with the win, unfortunately. I believe Virginia is going to beat Miami 34-24, and I'm hoping it feels like 34-24 and not like 48-7, and then Miami just scores some garbage TDs. It is also unfortunate because at the end of the day, unlike Tallahassee, who their entire season is dedicated to their fallen head coach, the University of Miami only wants to spend one day honoring Howard Schnellenberger, where we're going to wear patches and things of that nature on our jersey and a sticker on our helmet and a couple polos. When, in my opinion, when you have a legend like that who built this from nothing to something, you should be honoring him all season long with patches on your jersey and stickers on your helmet and patches on your polos. But it continues to show the lackluster approach to getting things done at the University of Miami in the football department. Just does.
Good point. All right, wholesome one. Always appreciated.
Absolutely, man. Hey, sorry it had to be kind of a down show, but at the end of the day, there's just things we had to talk about, guys, and we have to let it out. I'm sorry. We'll see what happens on Thursday, but in my opinion, I think they're 10 points better than us, especially offensively, and our defense hasn't shown any reason. And hopefully, with TV, I believe TVD is going to get the start. Hopefully TVD can muster more than 24 points, but Rhett Lashley and De'Aaron King struggled to even score like 3 touchdowns. So, hey, we'll see. Go Canes. I still love this program. I still love this fan base. I love our players. I just want us to get it right. And excuse me for not accepting mediocrity any comes to this University of Miami football program. And I'm going to spend any opportunity I can to help push us doing better. It's just that simple. God bless and go Canes.
Thank you, Wholesome One. My picks coming up on Patreon. Also, I'm off to record some Virginia content, so we'll post those Virginia videos here to get you prepped for the game. Know your opponent, know your enemy. So we'll get those Virginia analysis videos here posted. And remember, we'll be here pregame and postgame, Virginia, Miami, right here, the voice of college football. Pregame live, postgame live as well, right here, the voice of college football. See you soon.